Hey everyone, good morning, and I'm excited to be here. Angular Belgrade finally happening, and I was promised 15 minutes, and then they gave me 10 minutes. But anyways, I'm going to take 20 minutes. So a little bit, a little bit about myself. My name is Santosh Yadav, and of course, um, uh, I got a good introduction already. So I'm a senior software engineer at Celonis. This is what I do for money, for sure. We all do. Then I'm a GD for Angular. I'm also an ex-champion, a GitHub star. I'm also a co-founder of the community called This Is Learning, and we do a podcast called This Is Tech Talks. So we already we did virtual Conf last week, and yeah, Jerome is somewhere in the crowd. Who was our co-organizer. So yeah, we hosted like almost 60 speakers, and we'll be doing it again next year. So in case any of you are interested in coming as a guest for our podcast, feel free to send me a message. I am on X, LinkedIn, at Santosh Yadav Dev. And in case you want to apply for a speaker for next year, we'll open the CFP soon. And I'm on GitHub as well to get started with. So when Angular Belgrade was announced, right? So as most of us, or I can say every other developers in every other Angular developer in the world who wants to submit a talk on signals, I wanted to do as well. Then I realized there are experts in the room who possibly eat signal for breakfast. And I was like, no way I'm going to get accepted. So I said, yeah, leave it. So let's go with my talk. And then I decided to do a migration to strict mode talk. How many of you are actually working on an Angular project which has strict mode enabled? Very few, right? So I'm at the correct conference then. So this is what you can do, right? So this is our end goal. Yeah, and thanks for coming to my lightning talk. Just kidding. So let's start with the actual talk. So planning and migration to strict mode. This is something which I learned, like migrating my own monorepo, where we have close to 190 projects now, and it's growing. So it was a big pain, right? So we had 2 million lines of code, and we wanted to be there, like we want to adopt strict mode, as most of you might be, right? Who don't want to adopt strict mode? Possibly everyone, because we can reduce errors. So in August 2023, we had strict flags disabled for all the apps. I'm talking about, at that point, we had almost 140 projects and no strict mode. All the apps are actually running on all the strict flags disabled. But there is a downside. We kept getting errors, and we still do. Of course, we are not there yet, right? So we still kept getting error, and when we did our retrospective, the comment was, oh, this might have never been an issue if we were on strict mode, right? And then the question was why we are not there. If every retrospective we are actually coming up with the same solution, we should be there. So we decided, okay, let's fix this issue, but how? Of course, as most of developers do, I tried to do some Google search, nothing came up. So I said, okay, let's go around and see what I figure out, right? So I decided to do this. And first thing which I tried, as we are part of the platform team, we of course cannot touch the application team. We don't want to force this on them. So I started enabling strict flag for one of my R apps, like the platform team apps. And of course, everything started falling, right? So even libraries started failing because we realized that you cannot start from up to down. You have to go bottom to up in case you are enabling the strict flag. And then we reached out to my friend, you actually heard a lot about NX. So we, of course, use NX. So we reached out to NX and said, hey, give me the dependency graph and show me who is the core library, which library is at my bottom, and from where I can start migration. So we figured that out. We actually did it for most of our apps. We had 30 at that time. So we created all this dependency graph. I will tell you why. And then we enabled it for library, and again, everything failed because the library was too big. And after too many lines of codes, too many changes, again, there was tests which were failing. So we said, okay, this is no go. We cannot just migrate the entire library like this. So we thought we can do one thing, we can split this into smaller chunks, right? And this is where our final solution came from, breaking everything. But again, when you start some projects, big projects like this, remember one thing: progress progress is important, not perfection. So don't try to actually migrate everything at once. You will never reach anywhere, believe me. Of course, you will have some learnings, which I did, right? So when I started with migrating everything, and then we learned something. So let's see. So after actually failing multiple times, we decided to split this migration into 3 chunks. So what we did, we of course started from our bottom libraries, so the core libraries. So the first iteration, we decided we will not update any flags. We will go with strict templates. Let me give you the reason why. Because we found that moving to strict templates was the easiest thing to do. There was no breaking changes. This is what we realized. And we said, okay, let's do this. And then we started doing smaller PRs to enable this to true. And of course, it took us some iteration to complete all the libraries. But yes, we finally did that. We completed all the libraries with strict templates. And the other advantage of enabling strict templates is you also get better IDE support in VS Code or whatever IDE you use, right? And Angular always recommends enabling it. So after doing this, we said, okay, now what's the next step, right? So we said, okay, let's move to another flags. So we said, okay, this is strict true. We decided to enable strict from false to true, again, in multiple PRs. So we started like enabling it and saw like how many files we are actually updating. So we tried to limit it to 25 files in one PR. And of course, Angular is very good at capturing all these errors during your build. So we could capture all those errors and fix it. And we said, okay, we will not enable strict property initialization and strict null input types as of now, because again, it was breaking more things than we expected. And then we said, okay, now once these 2 are done, we will go to the third iteration where we'll turn these 2 flags on. So this was our complete idea from starting to end, like how we'll do it. But we wanted to share it with everyone, right? And this is one thing which developers love, creating design docs, right? I'm sure you all love doing it. So we created this design doc, and that's why we have this dependency graph, because we wanted to share it with the teams so they can take care of their own applications or libraries which they want to migrate. Next task. Yeah, the hardest one, right? So of course I knew that I can do it, or my team can do it, but convincing management, because management needs a value. Even though there are multiple failures we already noticed, but we wanted to convince them. So we went to our friend, our observability platform, and we saw some data. So we went there and we found hundreds of errors like this, because this is something which is visible to your end users, or probably on Datadog or somewhere, but it is not available to your developers. I mean, it is available, but who looks at this data, right? Who wants to see their own bugs? So we found like there are 350K errors in 2 weeks just for template in a single file, 2 files. These are 2 files. And then we had hundreds of files like this. And then we also found there are type errors, which is like more than, you can see there are like, how many, 15K errors. This is type error, right? And this is again 2 weeks data. And then we were able to convince the management as well, and they said, okay, I think we need this. And this is what we did. So we started migrating our shared libs. So we of course, don't want it to give something where apps team needs to struggle with. So we started migrating all the apps, the libs to strict mode, so we can unblock apps and then they can do the migration. After moving our shared libs to strict mode, we did one more thing. We updated our generators. So we are like for a longer period of time, Angular was not strict by default, right? So when you create a new lib or new project. So we enabled that. So whenever someone creates a new app or new library, they get strict by default. And then we also shared the documentation that do not disable it. Just in case you need something, ask for help. So we also have our office hours where people can ask questions, and then of course, in case they get issues, they can get it resolved. The last thing which I just did before coming to this conference was enabling the strict mode in editor. Because until unless, we are developers, right? Until unless we don't see the errors, we don't care about it. So now whenever they open the editor, they see a lot of errors, and they're scared. And they come back to us, like, why? So we tell them nothing to worry about, but you have to fix those. And biggest question is, where are we? Like, of course, I gave a talk about migration, and then if I don't give my own journey, like where we reached, then it's useless, right? So this is where we are right now. We have 96 projects with strict template true, which is started in August. And we have 88 projects, which is strict true. So this is our journey, but we will continue to move to 100% of applications where we will have strict mode enabled. This was my talk. As I said, this is lightning talk. And thanks to my GitHub sponsors, because of them, I can travel and spend my time preparing my slides and speak at conferences. Shameless plug, I have a YouTube course, a 17-hour course on Angular. So in case you want to learn, this is Angular 13, but probably I'll be working on next course, and it has more than 1 million views already on YouTube. So that's it. Thank you.